Take two. Welcome to episode 27 of Something More Than Gibberish. We had to restart because the first one, the audio, etc., was playing up. So let's see how we go now. Hi, Amy. Welcome. Can you hear me all right, Amy? Can you tell me that the audio is okay? And you can hear me okay? Excuse me. All right, Gemini, let's try take two. Can you hear me okay now? Yep, thank you, Amy. Gemini, I'm trying to bring you up now. And here we are.
Hello.
Good morning.
No. It's morning for you. It's afternoon for me. Evening, actually.
Semantics. Good evening to you, ma'am. Good morning from me, from my part of the world.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Nav's in the room, and good to see you.
Likewise.
Young Nav, if you want to put in a request to come up, we can bring you up and get this show on the road. And our guest is in the room, and here we are. Hi, Jenny. I don't know what happened before. Like you clearly couldn't hear me, but and I was trying to bring you up.
It was just a small blessing for a short period of time, but here we are. We have to.
Small blessing that you couldn't hear me. That's you've started firing shots already.
Look, the only way to go ahead and set up a good defense is to have a strong offense. And the last time I was not ready, I tried to be nice.
Oh my goodness. Hello, Nav. Thank you for coming and
Hi.
saving me.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Now, have you met Gemini before?
No, I have not. Nice to meet you. I'm not.
Likewise. Hello now.
You came up just in at the right time, Nav. You saved me from. I was getting attacked by this lovely co-host of mine. She was attacking me, so you came at the right time.
I have no clue what he's talking about.
Oh, so what did I miss?
Well, when I first started the episode, there was no sound coming through from me, from my end. Instagram was clearly playing up, and she took that as a small blessing because she couldn't hear my voice or hear me talk. I mean, how rude is that? That is just so tough. She started firing shots already, you know.
That is rude. You just called me rude.
You call me, you were just anyway. Look, this is all about Nav.
He says
So
what then he wants to change the subject. Hello, Nav. How are you doing, dear?
I'm good. How are you? Happy Friday or Saturday?
It's
If
Friday
you're in a different part of the
for
world.
me.
It's Friday for me as well.
See, that's all that matters. Nav is in Friday, and it's evening time for her.
Absolutely.
so
So how are you both doing?
ladies first.
I am getting prepared for Women of the World Poetry Slam.
Oh, very
I'm
nice.
heading to Baltimore on Tuesday, and I had one test to do before I left, but it will not let me into the system to do the test. And then I have another one to do while I'm gone, and I don't know if I'll be able to get that one done either.
Well, I wish you luck, and I hope you're able to do it because it's a lot of stress.
That is a lot of stress because I have until 9 p.m. tonight, and I contacted technical support, and they're like 24 to 78 business hours, which means that I'm going to be working on it over the weekend.
Oh no, it's awful.
So Nev, you originally are from Virginia.
Yes.
Where are you now? Are you still in Virginia or you're in?
Yes. Yes. I live in Northern Virginia, like about 25 minutes from Washington, D.C.
No.
Right. Okay. So you're on EST as well. That worked out well.
Hmm.
Um, so we've got about 2 hours to show and the idea of the show. This is episode 27 since Gemini and I started this show, getting close to a year back,
Oh,
or three quarters
wow.
of a year back. And the idea of the show is where we invite selected guests and we feature all about that that poet's journey. I like to generally find out the journey, what started um, the world of writing, recite some of their work, expound on that through conversation, hopefully give the listeners something to take away, and see what that journey has been and where it's going. And it's all about showcasing Nav Violet today, or Nav Sohi. I only learnt that that was your surname when you sent me your bio. Until then, I kept thinking your surname was Violet. There you go. So I learned something new from this.
Yeah, I actually was going to publish my book under my pen name, and then I just thought, let me just use my real last name for it, so people can actually find it. So yeah, I kind of I vary between the two. So on my page, on my IG page, I do sign my poems with Nav Violet. I do like to use the pen name, but I also, when I'm in featured in magazines or in shows, I do like to use my real last name.
And you're also into the music scene as well. So I'm really looking forward to hearing all about Nav Violet today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you, and it's been a while since we've been trying to coordinate this. With lives get busy, but here we
That's
are.
my fault. I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
that's
no.
my fault.
Look, life. We got to live, right? This is all secondary. Life happens first, so
Absolutely.
it happens. I trust in the universe. Things happen when they're meant to, right? Um, And as I say to all my guests, this is just the first time, but it's never the last. So as your journey evolves and you put out other books, other things happen in life, we can always revisit this and do it again. So it's um, it's a platform for showcasing everybody's work, and it's all about you today. So tell me, where did this all start? What prompted Nav to ever put pen to paper? Where did it come from?
Well, it started kind of in first grade. My teacher called it, I had my head in the clouds. Um, she told me I had my head in the clouds because what I would do was she would show a brief video of like these two characters, I think it was like a panda and a bunny rabbit, and they would kind of have a little storyline. And after the video would be done, I would start writing stories about them and drawing pictures, and so I wasn't completing my assignments. It was becoming a problem because I was daydreaming too much. And so I remember that kind of started the writing journey, but I didn't really start writing poetry until high school. I joined a creative writing class, and I was writing micro poems, and my teacher was like, "These are not really poems. It's like two, 3 lines. It's more like, they're called micro poems." And I said, "I don't really know what they are, but I like writing." And so I started writing poetry, and that I think it was in high school, like I think the senior year in high school, I created like my own handmade books with my poems in it, and I gave it to all my family and friends, and everyone was like, "This is really great, but it's really sad. Are you okay?" So I got kind of like a little worried. I'm like, well, I know I like to write a little bit deeper, intense emotions, and so I started that book, and then after that, my friend and I started an underground zine. So we were big part of the zine scene back in the day, where we had like these little. There was only like Xerox copied kind of magazines where we would cut and paste, and we would print them out. We would get them printed, and then we would go to we'd either mail them out to people or kind of stuff like that. So I did that for a couple years, and when I moved to New York City for graduate school, I started selling them in actual like bookstores. So I did that for a little bit, and it was weird. After that, I kind of stopped writing poetry. I just kind of stopped. I was like, oh, I'll get back to it, and took a long break of writing. I didn't write for about maybe 15 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I picked my pen back up in January of 2021 and started writing poetry, and created, my Instagram, and started posting my poems, and then published my debut collection in March of 2022. So
Mm.
that's kind of my writing journey in a nutshell.
So grade one, when you
Yeah.
first started this writing these stories, Well, that's I can just imagine the teacher sort of saying you were daydreaming, but isn't that funny how at such a young age when we haven't achieved that conditioned mind, settled into that conditioned mind yet, and we let that
Mhm.
subconscious come through. Isn't it funny that where our traits are, and then you park it as you go through adolescence and adulthood, and here you are back writing again. Once you've
Yes.
learned life's experiences, I guess, through the
Mhm.
adolescent and the growth into adulthood, and here you are writing. I love looking at how life's. When we look back in hindsight, it doesn't matter every great thing that happened in life or every trauma or tragedy. To me, when I look back, I can speak for myself. When I look back in hindsight, everything was just one rung in the ladder, setting you up for the next step in the ladder. Like that's phenomenal.
It's
That's
true.
That's beautiful. So basically, before you got out of high school, you were already a self-published author.
Yes, yes, I was. And it was weird because at 18, I'd said to myself, I'm going to write a book one day. Like that was a big dream of mine, and it didn't happen until years later. But it's something I always wanted to do. I just didn't really know how to do it, so I
mm-mm.
kind of just put it on the back burner. I was like, I'll do it one day. You know that dream? You're like, I'll do it one day. And then you just kind of don't revisit it for a minute. But I'm really happy I did because I do love writing. I do love poetry, and I don't plan to ever stop.
Well, I
Yeah,
think the reason why you stopped, when we are a certain age, the context of our poetry is
Mhm.
different. And yes, when we're younger, we read and we're inspired by other poets. Mine was Edgar Allan Poe, therefore most of my stuff
Same,
was sad.
same here. He's the one that got me into a lot of writing with his short stories and his poetry.
So now that you've come to the fullness of life, you have matured as a woman, you've had several life experiences, your poetry is fuller. You can look at
Yeah.
the poems that you wrote before and look at them like, how did I know to feel these things at such a young age? But you can
Mhm.
also add to them. So that
Yes,
is why there was the time difference, that 15-year span. You needed that time in order for your poetry to bloom.
you're right. That makes a lot of sense, and it's true because I think it is fuller, and I do look back at some of my old stuff, and not that I don't appreciate it, but I do see a lot of growth in the life experiences and in the writing style as well.
Yeah, mine makes me cringe sometimes because I did a lot of rhyming, a lot of sing song. So when I look back at my rhyming, I cringe a little bit. I'm like, okay, should I really share this? But being able to see the growth and even like being vulnerable and allowing others to see the growth,
Yes.
it's beautiful. So the question I have for you, when you put out your book, your debut book, did you put any of your original poems into that book?
I did not, but you know what? That is a great idea because I do have a couple of poems. I'll have to find them that I might, maybe elaborate on, maybe not keep it in the original format, but maybe elaborate on or use some lines in it to kind of memorialize them. Because I do remember there was a couple of poems in there. I was like, I still like parts of that. So I would like to use that. But no, I didn't. It was all original. Some of the stuff was posted from Instagram, and some of it was new material. And what I kind of did is I just pulled everything that I was going to put in the book off the page, so
Wow,
it's not there anymore.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so proud of you because like people like me agonize. Like I haven't started anything
Mhm.
because I'm like, which one should I not put in? The fact that you're able to pull it and put everything together, that is beautiful. So I think I might take a page from your book. I might just go through and grab a whole bunch of poems and just put it in the debut book, just a mix of them.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I did it. Is I wrote everything, I put it all in a Word document, and then it was funny. My friend Felicia and I, we were kind of going through the process of like what the formatting would be. And I was like, okay, I'll print out all the poems and put them on the floor. She's like, girl, what are you talking about? We're not going to do that. Just, just make a stack. We'll put grief, we'll put love, we'll put heartbreak, and it was all randomized. So I just grabbed one out of each stack and put it together, and that was it. That was the final format. So it was very random, but I knew which poems I wanted, especially the very first and the very last one. I wanted it a specific beginning and end, but everything else in between is random. So there's like a grief poem, then there's a love poem, a heartbreak, and then it's like mixed like that. So there's not really, some people do like the themes and different like chapters. I didn't do that. I just kind of threw it all together.
Oh, my, it would be exciting reading your book.
Thank you.
I definitely think so too, because the pieces I have heard of yours, Nav, they are always deep, meaningful, cut to the chase in life of the deeper emotions. And yes, pieces, not that I've heard a lot of your pieces, but the pieces I have heard are always just so heartwarming. I mean, I can see you. I think it'll be lovely to get some of your early work, especially that early creative mind. I mean, I, for one, I was a bit of a mischievous kid at school, and my early poetry I dare not even put anywhere near on a paper, because I was a cruel, nasty, mischievous kid at school, and my early poetry was things like violets are red. No, roses are red, violets are purple, you have a head just like a turtle. I mean, that was the kind of cruel poetry I used to write. Right? So I dare not put that on my books. I was just a mischievous kid. But I think some of your early creative stuff would be lovely to see. Whether it's in a reprint of this book, but in one of your other books even, it'll be good looking back on that journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I would love
The
to see them paired together, the same theme
Mm-hmm.
poems paired together as like Nav the teenager and Nav
The
the
angsty,
woman side by side.
the angsty teenager that grows up to be an angsty woman.
Angsty, no, angsty Edgar Allan
Yeah,
Poe-ish teenager and the mature Edgar Allan Poe connoisseur of a woman poet.
that's a great idea. I should do that. That's a great idea.
actually,
Thank you.
You
I
are.
think those now your taste in it's what I find quite interesting is how your poetry is all deep, meaningful, soft, emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and then your taste in music, you like some of the heavier sort of tastes in music and all
I
that.
do.
It's just like there's no romantic sort of songs in that sort of playlist. It's all sort of head banging,
Yeah,
like
yeah. And
rock.
it's funny because I've always like my brother, I have an older brother. He got me into The Cure when I was a kid. He
Ooh.
got me into Metallica and Nirvana and all these like punk bands and metal bands. So as a kid, I was really into that stuff and I kind of never outgrew it. So a lot of the girls were like into the pop bands and I was like, no, I'm gonna listen to Metallica like as a kid. So I never outgrew it and it's like my comfort music. So my favorite band, and I say this in pretty much every live that I'm on, is AFI. I love them so much, and their music has carried me throughout decades.
Yeah.
So I've liked them for a really, really long time, and I remember when I lived in New York City, I used to have like one of those CD players, and I had like their CD, and I would just like play their music, and I was like, I'm just gonna look angry and walk fast, and no one will bother me. And like nobody ever bothered me because I looked so mad and I'd walk so fast, and so AFI saved me from so many precarious situations.
Like
I
heavy
think
metal is like kind of kick ass. Like you feel like you can take on the entire world. Like literally, you can walk through like a firestorm and be completely untouched. And that's what it feels like. That's why I don't play it when I drive at all.
I
uh,
do, and it's just like you just turn it up, and all of a sudden you're like, I think I can get there real fast if I'm listening to this. Get out of my way!
Beep, beep.
Chance is asking in the comments where in New York did you live? Where in New York City did you live?
So I lived in one of the boroughs. I lived in Queens. So I had a little bit of a trek getting into the city, but it was the cheapest, most affordable basement apartment that was probably illegal. I probably would have not survived like if there was like a flood or something, but it was 500 a month. It was affordable, and I had to take the F train in. I had to take a bus, and then I had to take the train into the city. But I worked in the city, so I worked for a book publisher, and I went to school. I got my master's in publishing from Pace University in New York City.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, do you work in that field now in publishing, or?
Well, initially I did. I worked at two different magazines. So when I graduated, I worked for a very high-end luxury magazine that was more local, and I did a lot of things for them. I wrote, I fact-checked, I basically did everything for the magazine, and it was funny because it was like really highlighting high-end wealthy people in Northern Virginia. So I'd have to call them, and I just wanted to ask, you have 17 Ferraris, and you have 7 pools in your house. I just want to make sure that the article is correct. And I'd be talking to all these people, and I asked the guy, like, what are you gonna do with 17 Ferraris? Like, what are you gonna do with them? And he's like, I just have them for my collection. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, I guess. Anyways, I worked for them for about a year, and that was an interesting experience because I realized the magazine industry is very, very cutthroat. It's like I was basically hired, and the girl I replaced was fired. So she was fired to hire me, and I knew my time was ticking. I was like, I have to get my experience and I have to leave before they replace me. So I was only there for about a
Wow.
year. And then I worked for a media company that published more of a government magazine. I did that next, and I did that for about a year and a half. And now I work for a local county government. So I do web design and I do writing. So I do still do writing in my job, but it's more of a communications role.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
The Yeah, I think that's great. I love that the one persona in the music, because when you run your lives on Original Thought, the monthly shows you do there, Nav's the quiet, sedate, loving, kind, empathetic soul, and then your poetry is that, and then you got the music side. I love that. I love that because I too, there's many sides to me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and I don't know who the hell I'm looking at as well. So I really appreciate that the multiple, so like the passions and instead of just being stuck down one line. And I think that's good. It opens your mind up to the variety of life and
Yes.
the many aspects of life.
Beautiful.
Love to hear one of your pieces.
Sure. I have I can read one from my book.
Yes, read as many as you like, because and then let's give you a book a plug
For
too. So folks,
it's
uh,
called Handful of Violets. I know it's backwards, but it's available. Link in my bio. It's available on Amazon via Kindle and paperback. So, and that's
Smart to put it on Kindle because some people don't like books, and others love having that paperback and the smell of the pages in their
see
hand.
me. I like the page. I have a Kindle. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in my house. It's like dead somewhere. But I love just the feel of paper and just reading an actual book. But this one, the interesting thing about the cover is I had a woman paint the violets, so it's actually a painting, and then I had a separate lady that designed the cover, and then I had like a separate person that like formatted it. But yeah, I told her, I was like, I need like violets, but it has to be specific, and so she painted like a watercolor of
yeah.
the flowers.
I
So
love the title too, Handful of Violets. So appropriate. I
thank
really love
you.
it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So what kind of piece would you like to hear?
So, as I said, these 2 hours is all about showcasing
Okay.
Nav
No,
Violet. So, what
he's
Nav wants to project to
asking
the
you.
world.
He's not going to tell you, but I'll tell you. I want to hear like one of your most Edgar Allan Poe-ish piece. That's what I want to hear.
Oh, okay. Let's see. There's a lot.
Well, choose the first one that pops in your
Yeah.
hand.
Let's see. You know what's so funny? Okay, I was gonna have to say this real quick
Uh,
before I read something.
Chance just
I,
said page 25. There you go, if that helps
page,
you.
Ah, okay, that's a good one. Okay, this one's called, excuse me, this one's called Fairest of All. Vanity is my favorite sin, basking in my reflection, my skin glistening in the setting powder like crushed diamonds. I stopped smiling long ago to hide the creases forming around my eyes. Fairest of all was I until that little girl with her cherub cheeks and raven black hair took my place. Her doe eyes craved a mother's love, but I am not her mother. The only person I love is me. I soaked in milk, hoping it would bleach my skin a shade lighter, drank potions and applied creams, my futile attempts all failures. Even after I exiled her, Ferris was always her with her youthful glow. The fire inside me ignited when my own mirror deceived me again and again. As a last resort, I sacrificed my fairness, transforming into a weathered old lady to end her. Coaxing her with my sweet words was all it took for her rose petal lips to bite into a waxy apple coated with my masterful poison. Rest easy, little girl. The queen always wins.
I love your imagery.
Thank you.
Diamonds. Did you say it at the beginning? Crushed diamonds, the powder?
Yes.
And even like the description of the apple. Like you didn't say red. You didn't use all the waxy. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know it's shiny because it's covered in layers and layers of wax, but it's all
Mm-hmm.
poison.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's so many amazing lines through there, and as I'm accustomed to with your work, but two lines that really are significant to me is vanity is my favorite of sins, the very opening line. It's our vanity that sometimes helps us to grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's our vanity that can be our downfall. It's our vanity that can cause the great and the bad experiences in our life as well. And the other line that absolutely is so profound to me, my own mirror deceived me. What we see in ourselves sometimes can be so wrong. We think
Yes.
sometimes we're doing things believing we're doing the right thing, and we're so far, we couldn't be any more wrong if we tried.
And it's
You
so
know,
true.
those are two powerful statements that I think I well I've lived by them. I can almost tattoo them in the inside of my mind.
Thank you so
Am I
much.
really seeing what I see when I self reflect?
And
Am
also,
I seeing what I want to see?
and that was just my twist to, Snow White, because, obviously she she thrives, and the queen perishes, but just the act of aging and how we really don't want to age, and it's just the envy that comes with it, seeing someone youthful and they're thriving, and it's like being like a has been, like once being beautiful, and then it just all goes away, and just that bitterness that kind of gets instilled in us. But that's kind of what inspired that piece. I think I started with that very first line, vanity is my favorite sin, and then it built from there.
Mm.
So, what are some of the key prompts that drive you to write? What makes you? What is a common sort of denominator that generally says, "I'm going to write about that"? Is it an emotion? Is it an experience? Is it a thought?
Well, for me, I have a specific like playlist I listen to. So I listen to music when I write. I have to. There's no other way. And from there, I feel it, I go deep down and grab an emotion from there, and then I'll start writing. And sometimes it'll be after a song. Sometimes it'll be a few. But that's kind of where I go deep and find like the most painful emotion or the most euphoric emotion, and I will write something based on that, of what the feeling is in that moment.
The question concerning your last
Mhm.
poem, you really humanized the queen. You you gave an understanding to her vanity, to her despair, saying, I stopped smiling a long time ago to prevent the lines, the crow's feet around my lips.
Mm-hmm.
So you really humanized her.
Thank you.
What? You're welcome. It was beautiful because I thought you were talking about you, then you started adding to it. I'm like, wait, I know who this is. Just like Maleficent did for whatever that movie was. Well, just like Maleficent did, this did the same thing, like Wicked. So what made you write specifically about the Queen and Snow White and not Snow White?
I felt like she didn't really have her story was kind of brushed upon. Like we didn't really get deep into what her story was and why she was so bitter and why she hated her so much.
Mm.
So I wanted to kind of develop that a little bit and kind of what her ritual was. Like I imagine like, okay, what would she possibly be doing to try to remain as youthful as possible? And I just imagined, something that, queens or royal people used to do back in the day was like, bathe in milk. So I used that and just, the potions. I just pictured like this whole dresser full of just different concoctions and she just tries everything to stay youthful, but she keeps seeing it in the mirror just more and more lines, and it's just she can't stop it. So that's kind of where it started from. Is just that initial thought of like her story not being told.
Well, you definitely did tell her story there. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You still do the monthly Origin of Thought shows.
Yes.
Anything else planned in this world?
No, although I haven't done a live from my own page in I think maybe 2 years or something. So I do want to start maybe doing more lives from my own page as well. But I haven't really thought about it too much. But I do open mics sometimes. Every once in a while I'll go on and share a poem. But that's the only platform that I'm currently on. And I do a monthly show, which is the first Monday of every month on Origin of Thought.
Okay.
Any live appearances, in-person appearances in your locality? Is there a lot happening? And
Well, I'm a part of the Northern Virginia, there's like a Northern Virginia poetry group that I'm a part of. And I had one of my poems published in an anthology. So I did read that piece to all the authors that were in the room that day. That was a few months ago. So that's the only live experience I've had. But I really enjoyed it because it was, I went there, I got to network with some local poets, and none of them were on Instagram because I'm like, oh, I have an Instagram. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, we don't do all that, but we go in person. Like, there's events in DC and around here. Like, you should really go and start, reciting your poetry. I had never known about that. I just thought
yeah.
that was like, I didn't know that there was any local groups. So I should get more active in that, but I haven't planned anything just yet.
I'm so excited for you. When
On,
you
Thank
start
you.
dancing out from behind that screen, man, that energy that you get from the crowd and from other poets is going to be explosive. So I hope that once you start doing that, you share some of those clips and you keep the whole video of your poem, your performance, and the reactions, you keep it for yourself. Because there are things that people will share, there are responses that you'll get that you will not hear while you're performing because all you can hear is your heart beating.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you've done that as well, like performing. How has that been like for you?
Oh my gosh. So when I first started, it was nerve-wracking. I
Mm-hmm.
have stage fright, even though I was in drama club in high school. I love performing as far as poetry. I was always nervous, and I'm still nervous every once in a while when I get on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But getting there and locking eyes, because here, like you're looking at your screen,
Mm-hmm.
and Instagram removes half of that interaction, even if
Yes.
someone's on screen with you. When you're there, you can actually feel their emotion and they can feel yours. Like they feed you, you feed them. You lock eyes with someone that completely relates to what you're sharing, especially if it's a vulnerable piece. And like, it's like for an instant, both of you are in each other's worlds for an instant. And like, and you stay there during the course of like your sharing. And even afterwards, sometimes it does not dissipate. You still feel this close to that person that you've never met.
Wow.
So I'm so excited for you.
Thank you so much.
Last last week on in my original thought show, I connected with a young man, poetically underscore imperfect. He's from Northern Virginia area, and he said he's actually coming up to perform in some slam events and all that as well. So there must be a fair bit happening there. And his poetry was just amazing. I only connected with him last Saturday, my Saturday, your Friday. And since then, I've seen him on a couple of lives. Yeah, really lovely poet, and sounds like there is a lot happening in your area. So should do it. Should get connected with some of the local. I did the same thing for the first 3 years or something after I started on Instagram. Most of my connections are either in the US, UK, or Canada,
Mhm.
and in my own locality, I knew nobody.
Yeah.
But the last 4 or 5 months, I've been once a week going to live events here, and Melbourne's a very arty community. There's a lot of people from theatrical backgrounds as well, and watching their recitals, their performances are just phenomenal, and I'm really connecting with people who live a few kilometers away from me, because I knew nobody here. So yeah,
That's great.
it's can we hear another piece of yours? And
Yes. And I have my iPad here somewhere. So if you want to want to hear something from my page, I can grab my iPad real quick.
anything, whatever you want to
Okay.
share, I'm good with.
Any
I haven't heard
re-
anything of.
any requests from anybody in the room on a page?
You got
Well,
Jenny and Amy there, your fan
oh,
club. Robert's
oh
come in the
yes.
room.
I love Jenny and Amy, and I have all my favorite people in here.
Do do you have anything about love?
Oh yes, find a loved one.
Because like from what you explained with sitting down with your friend, and that's beautiful to have someone to sit with you while you kind of try to put together everything that you've shared from inside of yourself and put it into a collection so that other people can relate to. So that was beautiful of your friend to be there with you to experience that with you.
Oh, I owe her so much. She's the one that told me, she's not even on social media. She's the one that told me to share my poetry. She like started an Instagram. She doesn't even have one, and to share my work. So she's the one that like pushed me, and it was like a lot of tough love. Like, all right, so how many poems we got left to write? And I'm like, oh, I'll work on it. And she's like, no, we need to do it. We need to finish it. So
Jenny
she
just
was
said page 11,
page 11. Okay.
and Chance just said boo to love.
Oh, he had a chance to go ahead and suggest something. He didn't do it. So I don't want to hear it, Chance. Love it is.
Okay. So do you want like a warm? I can read 11, which is
I want to hear a variety of your
okay.
pieces that
I'll read
showcase
11.
you as a writer.
I'll read 11 first, and then I'll pick. There's another one that's like a heartwarming love piece, but I'll read Chameleon
Okay.
first. Wavering loyalties, picking the optimal side, applauding the cause and effect of your choices made by your creators. You're palatable to them, a color changing chameleon, sunbathing on a gray rock, thinking no one can see you, but I can see your cracked skin shimmer. I wish you defected I wish you defected the infector around you. Maximize the factors of controlling a life that was not theirs to dictate. I don't know what's worse, you being too strong for me or too weak for them.
Wow. I love that last line. You
Thank
being too
you.
for me or too weak for them. Like that displaced bravery and strength where you are what's supposed to be closest to this person's heart because you mean them no harm.
Mhm.
Yet everyone who injures them outside of yourself, everyone who injures them, they allow it to happen. But when it comes, I have a friend like that. When it comes
Mm.
to you, they can put up that wall, that fight, have the sword and the shield.
Yes.
But everywhere else, they allow themselves to be just cut open.
Yes, that's exactly kind of the thought process that went behind that one.
Wow.
Just someone that didn't really have, that's someone who's kind of two-sided, and just seeing their face change depending on who's in the room.
Damn.
Some very profound lines in there. Each of the so many of those lines they could actually use in a meditation. You could really reflect and ponder on each of those some of those lines.
I'm trying to find one. Oh, okay. Let me this one right here. I want to read this one. This one is called Cold Coffee.
Hmm.
Let's share emotions over frothy lattes, sipped slowly, savoring the conversation and the ambience of rushed commuters, single file waiting impatiently for a jolt of caffeine. They will all know we are together because it's the way you focus on me, as if every word I say is worth remembering. I don't want the hours to pass, and each sip brings me closer to this new memory ending. So I let it grow cold in my hands, and I hate cold coffee. But I never tell you this because I know you'll get up and buy me another, and all I want to do is keep the conversation alive, as one would feed sticks to a fire. Leave me with this image in my mind so I can revisit it every time I think of you.
Ah. Just the title, Cold Coffee, because like iced coffee is
It
refreshing.
is. I
Coffee
like it.
soothing. But when you get to that last bit or the half cup of coffee and it's just like tepid,
Yeah,
it's like just
the
right above
worst.
tap just right above tap water,
Yeah,
and like it goes down your throat. It's just like, but to say that I'm willing to suffer through that for this moment with you, to just still be encapsulated in just this experience, this memory, and to hold it and to swallow and sip down that cold, nasty coffee. That's love.
yeah, that's that's what I was trying to portray in that one, is just so engulfed in that conversation and like looking in that person's eyes and just being in that moment and not caring that I'm gonna have to just gulp down that last bit of cold coffee at the end. And I do like iced coffee now, but I don't like hot coffee that gets cold. Like I won't do it. Like I won't drink
It's just
it.
not. It's not nice. It's not good.
No,
It's not,
no, it's
it,
okay.
I would say it's not good.
No.
It just no, not at all.
I love the in your work. They're short, they're intense, and every line has focus. And as Robert put in the comments, your ending lines are always perfect. Just nail it. It just
Thank you.
captures everything, the journey. You really do. Um, and that just as a lot of your work, as I said, I could reflect and meditate on individual lines. Like that last line, like that whole last line itself. Anyone can take the good and the joyous moments in a relationship, right? Or in a friendship, in a business, in a job, but it's extending ourselves beyond ourselves to put up with what we don't, but that's not so nice. That's not so enjoyable for
Mhm.
the sake of the other, for the sake of that experience.
Yes,
That's where we all struggle, right? For us, we can
it's
do
true.
anything. We can walk 100 miles across burning desert sands if it's something for us. But can I do it for you?
Yeah.
That's my true test of my friendship.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So your lines, as I said, I could reflect and meditate and sit on a mountain and preach.
Thank you.
But it
I
really is.
actually I actually write, usually the last line is probably what I build kind of my poem either from the first line or the last. But the ending for me is the most important part of my poems. Like I have to have a good ending. If I can't get that ending right, I'll keep reworking it until I can get the ending right.
Yeah,
Because I want something that someone can remember from the poem,
yeah,
and it's usually the last line is what
yeah.
people usually take away from it.
Yeah, it's that. It's to me too. I truly agree with that. That last line is so important. It needs to stitch it all together, doesn't it? You know. Um,
Oh, Robert says he keeps your book on his nightstand. It's a good one to read right before
Oh,
bed.
Oh, thank you so much, Robert. That's so kind of you.
And
Yeah.
even Edward Darcy was saying that your book's absolutely brilliant.
Oh,
I
thank you,
definitely
Edward.
must put that on my shopping list for sure. Um, so you mainly write about love, about life's tribulations, about grief.
Hmm.
Anything else
Yes,
that I missed there?
that's mostly it. I usually write about those three topics. Sometimes it'll be kind of random, and I'll just write about anything. But for the most part, I do like to write about love, heartbreak, and grief are the three kind of go-tos. And I'll read maybe a grief poem.
Yeah, because those are very universal feelings and
Mhm.
sentiments, experiences that people can connect to. Oh man, I can't wait for you to get in front of a crowd
Oh,
and see how you
thank
connect
you.
with
You're
others. Oh my
you're
gosh.
so you're so kind. This one is called Gazing. It's on page 22. I envy I envied those able to lay fresh flowers beside moss-ridden headstones,
Mm.
knowing deep below their loved one's spirit lurked nearby, listening intently to daily stories, regret of unspoken words, remorse for waking to the sun's rays, week by week visited and remembered. In death, one is perfect, flawless, sinless, immortalized in memories. Eulogies are recited with edited stories because no one needs to know the depth of one's faults. I don't have a grave to visit. Your ashes were spread in a river, and parts of you touched the bottom while other parts of you traveled miles. I don't know where to search for you, so I look up to the endless sky, talking to the air, imagining you are hiding behind a cumulus cloud, but it's not the same.
Mm.
Can I ask, is that a vulnerable piece?
Yes, this one is about one of my friends that passed away in 2018 of cancer.
Mm.
She didn't have a funeral, so it was pretty tough because we kind of had to grieve without one. But we did do a celebration of life for her. I did a eulogy for her, and her ashes were spread. But it's one of those things where I look into the sky now, and it's I've got my friend, I've got my dad, I've got my grandmother, my grandparents up there. So this poem has different meaning to me now because when I wrote it was about Diane, but my dad passed away almost 2 years ago,
Mm.
and it's so interesting how fitting this poem is now. Because when I
Mm.
read it now, it's like I don't just think of her, I think of him too.
Mm.
And I
Yes.
also think, so it's one of those things where it's like, whoa, like that happened, and it's almost like this like insight to the future in a way. Because I did a
Mm.
eulogy for my friend as well as my dad at his
Mm.
funeral.
So, what I wanted to say to you, your friend became the river.
Hmm.
Because what you said was that parts of you is at the bottom and parts of you is probably miles away. So imagine from the point where her ashes were spread, your friend became the entirety of the river downstream.
Hmm.
I could see you writing a poem about that.
Yes, and I don't know. It's just one of those things now where if I do glance at my book now and I look at the grief poems, it's like I see so many people that have passed in them. It's not just one
Mm.
person, but it's many, and it
Mm.
all feels the same.
Firstly, condolences for the loss of your father and your friend a couple of years ago is very
Thank you.
recent.
Hmm.
Um,
Thank you.
grave sites never used to mean a lot to me
Hmm.
because the people lived on in my heart and my mind. Like my father, I lost when I was 12, and he um, he's been around me all my life.
Hmm.
But when I now my son was born here. My father was buried overseas. My son was born here, and he'd never met my father other than a couple of photos and any stories that he'd heard from me. And when I took him back to back overseas and visited my father's grave, My son was only 20,
Mm-hmm.
and the connection he had with somebody he'd never met, and the way he sobbed and cried at that grave, touched me,
Mm-hmm.
because that was the root of his genes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody he'd never met, and seeing him sob. And then a couple of years later, when my mum passed away,
Mm-hmm.
my mum was a widow for 44 years after Dad passed
Mm-hmm.
away. In that time, she never even had a coffee with another man. And I thought, what better fitting place to lay her ashes at rest than in his grave. So I flew back and went and buried her ashes in his grave. And so
Wow.
for many years, a grave is, you know, because the people lived on, their memories lived on, not that bit of soil that I went and laid some flowers at.
Yes.
But yeah, after that, it just meant a gravesite suddenly had a different significance to me after so many years of my life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's really deep, and I'm sorry for the loss of your parents as well. It's tough. It's a really tough. It's tough even now. I mean,
Mm.
I think I'll have good days, and then I'll be like laughing. I'll just be like, I'll be like having like a joyous moment, and then it's like I almost feel guilty for it. Like, oh, he's not here anymore. Oh my God, like he's gone, and like this whole whirlwind of emotion will happen, and or I'll listen to a song and I'm like, because I remember he never liked my music. I put it on in the car and he's like, this is like, they're just screaming. They're so angry. And I would be like, Dad, it's so deep. So I'll just like, I'll have a moment where I'll get like my eyes will well up with tears. And then I'm like, but he's not gone. He's still here. Like, I
Yeah.
know that I feel him around me. I know he's always watching. And I know that if the TV will randomly turn on or a light flickers, I'm like, yeah, he's just letting me know that he's here,
Yeah.
and he has more power now because he's up. And my belief is, he's up in heaven and he's watching down below, and he's more powerful in the place he is right now. And so when I pray to God at night for all my loved ones, I talk to him. I talk to him every night and tell him what I need or to bring me comfort or to visit me in dreams. So he does come to my dreams very often. He always looks 40 years old. He's always very fit, and he's got this gold halo around his head, and he says the same exact thing to me in every dream. I miss you, I love you, and it's like, oh, it feels so good when I wake up because I'm like, okay, he's here,
Mm.
and he'll say the same thing to me, and he always brings me great comfort in my dreams. So, as much as I miss him, he's not gone. He's just not on Earth anymore. But he's still very much alive in
Beautiful.
me.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
My father passed away over 50 years ago, and he's still like he's right here.
mhm.
Yeah. And whenever I've needed him, he's been there
Yes,
because they're not inhibited by time and space anymore.
no. So now he can see everything.
Yeah.
When I'm sitting there when I'm driving, if somebody like cuts me off, and I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, sorry, Dad. I swear that was a bad moment.
Because I was a mischievous kid. Because I was a mischievous kid, and Mum ran the tight ship at home. Mum, as my mum says, now I can see everything that you get up to, you brute. You can't do things behind my back.
But that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it, though, with the memories that you created.
Yes.
Those memories, the memories you create with people, that is their essence, their spirit.
Yes.
And when those sad moments come, just think of something that your dad would have said or done. And it's beautiful because like you have the sad moment and all of a sudden like you have to push yourself to flash back on a memory that like you're going to tell your kids, that you're going to talk about during like get-togethers or with one of your friends who knew your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Just share some of those things. When I believe that when we talk about people, we keep them alive
Mm-hmm.
because we keep the memory alive, so therefore they never go anywhere. So like telling stories about your father, I would love to hear it, especially about those moments with that music.
Yeah, because it was funny because I remember like I would go to concerts. Like he was cool with me, going to concerts. So I would go to concerts, and I wear big skater pants and the band shirts and the green lipstick and my the streaks of color. He was just like, "What are you gonna do with your life? Like this is not how proper ladies dress." And I'm like, "I'll be fine. I'm just trying to be a part of the scene, Dad." And it's funny because there's that part of me is still there. Yeah, I can wear like nice clothes and go to work and wear a suit and stuff. But it's like that part of me is still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because he was a tough guy. He was really taught me to be very strong. I remember, I skinned my knees or something when I was little, and he said, why are you crying? Only weak people cry. And I'm like, only weak people cry. Okay, maybe I won't cry. And he always kind of instilled. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but he always wanted to be very strong, and I think that really developed over time. So even like the biggest, darkest things that some people can't handle, I'm like, oh, I'm strong. Like he kept instilling that. So there's a lot of things about him that are a part of me still, and so I think about those things a lot, and just like memories of going to like Disney World and the happy stuff, the vacations and things like that, or um, buying me like the most expensive Barbie doll because that's the one I wanted. And it wasn't like back, how it is with kids now. I'd get one. Christmas
Just
time, I
one.
get one. I get the one that was expensive. I could just use like, you can get one, pick which one you want. And I remember at one point I counted the dolls I had because I loved Barbie. It was like a big thing back then. I had like 72 of them. I had so many of them because then it was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, if she likes them, I'll keep getting them. And I had one Ken and I had like 72 Barbies. That was my thing. That was my thing. I had like all of them. I was so happy. And then it was like it's such a shame to grow up because I'm like, I can't play with this
Yeah.
stuff anymore. It's like you get
Okay.
to a certain age and it's like you're
No,
11 now, like you can't play with dolls. I'm like, why? They're so fun.
you can still play. Look, my daughter's 26. There is a Barbie group on Facebook, and there are more than one Barbie groups. She still collects them. I started when she was little. Her husband, that was the first gift he got her before they started. He still buys her Barbies now.
No way. I got rid of them at this point, but it was just stuff like that I think about, just things like that, gifts or just the thoughtfulness,
Mhm.
and him supporting the loud music and the car trips.
See, now this is what I want to see. Like that feeling that you got when you were talking about him. When the other feelings come, let them wash over you.
Yeah.
But that should be the lasting feeling, that laughter, like that belly roll laughter, tears in your eyes, laughing at those memories.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Thank you for allowing us to share that with you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for, I wanted to share that because it was something that was on my mind today, actually.
Good.
So
Uh,
he would have like really enjoyed. He did see my book come out, so that was great. But he was upset about one thing. He said, "You didn't write my full name in the acknowledgments. You just put Dad." And I was like, "Okay, I got you, Dad. Next book dedication is gonna be just him in the front. It's gonna have his full name." I'm gonna do that for him. I know
well,
he'd love that.
No,
the young
I-
plant that he nurtured certainly turned out to be a beautiful soul, Nav.
Thank you
I'm sure
so
he's
much.
very proud of you from where he is, and as I'm sure your friends, your family, everybody, you certainly leave a lot to be proud. You have a lot to be proud for. The
Thank you
person
so
you
much.
turned out, the kindness, the authenticity, the values you hold. I think they're all commendable.
Thank
Mhm.
you. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Um, love. What's next? In next another book planned?
Yes. So I am working on another book, but I'm taking my time. So this one came out in 2022, and I had thought, oh yeah, I'll write another book in a year, but I really want to take my time with this one. So I don't have a time frame for it. but I will probably have about maybe 90 poems or so, and it will be probably the same kind of size as this. But I want to take my time and curate pieces that I think would really fit. So there will be some from Instagram. There will be new pieces, but I'm not quite there just yet. And I do want to include a lot of pieces about my dad. So I haven't. I'm now starting to write about him. I've only written maybe 3 or 4, but I do want to do maybe about 10, 15 about him, and have them in the book. So I think maybe in a year and a half, possibly, the next one will come out.
Right.
And I think it's good to put it out when there's ready. There's no time rush to
Yes,
rush and get something out. I'd rather take time and put out quality than quantity.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's. Can we hear another piece?
Sure. Do you want to hear something from my page or from the book?
Well, as always, I'm all about you showcasing you, but I'm sure my co-host here will have some demands.
I don't have any demands, just requests, and I'm not shy about it.
Well, there you go.
Can I hear a few pieces from your page?
Yes. I'm going to turn the camera off for 1 second. I'm going to go get my iPad, which is like, I can see it, but I can't reach it. It's like, come here.
I have the same
1
problem.
second.
I have little arms, little legs, so
Really? I didn't know that.
don't don't start with near and near. Don't don't.
You got you got Barbie collection too, Gemini? I'm sure you play with dolls.
No, I actually make clothing. I made myself a princess. So I make
Did you?
clothing. Yeah, so I make clothing with dresses that go all the way to my ankles so I can twirl around and feel pretty.
There you go. I love that.
Yes, man. I believe every
So
woman should feel like a princess if she wants to be.
every
And like,
woman,
yeah. And like my quote for my dresses is like dresses to make you feel beautiful. But then my son is like, well, mommy, you know, want to make me anything? So now it's going to be clothing to make you feel beautiful because men need to feel beautiful too.
I, I love that. I will absolutely love that.
Amy's putting in comments masterpiece and dark room. I don't know if they are pieces of that she's referring to or what. Maybe the words mean something to you. Dark room, masterpiece.
Oh, yes, that's from the book. I'll read one from the page and then I'll transition back to the book. Okay, so what are we thinking? Do you want me to read? Let's see. I'm looking at my page now.
What was the last one that you did that you felt deeply? It wasn't just something that, because I know that some things come inspired and like they come in and they rush out. What was one that you wrote, the last thing you wrote that you felt deeply about?
Ooh, let's see. That's a lot of them. I feel quite deeply about all of them.
I love that.
Okay, so I have. I'm sorry, I'm taking so long.
No,
That's
that's
fine.
not about you, my dear. You're
I can
fine.
I can read one about my dad actually, since we were just talking about him.
Yes.
I'll read that one because I think this one is, and you know what I'll do is I don't know if you can see it with my ring light, but that's a picture of me and him. Yeah, sorry.
Awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, he had a couple of drinks and we had a party at my house. This was years ago, and I remember there was somebody who was taking a picture, and my dad just like grabbed me and then took the picture of me like sitting on his lap. It was so funny. His cheeks are all rosy because he's had a couple of gin and tonics.
So it made you like he wanted to make you back into his little girl again, and that's
Yeah, yes, because
oh,
it's such a funny post. Um, this
That's
one is
beautiful.
called "Weight of This Day." The sky an admiral blue on the day of your funeral. I will never forgive the sun for being so unbothered, its rays illuminating the world, when all I could see was my blackened grief, searing the ability to comprehend past my personal misfortune. I will never forget the orchestrated piece they painted you with, your skin varying between varnished ivory and translucent silk, the rosy hue absent from your cheeks. So instinctively, I placed a few rose petals framing your face to bring life, but you remained lifeless. The weight of this day is still ever present. The first time I openly cried in front of strangers and friends alike, and I hope you felt yourself in each tear I shed that day, and the millions I continue to release. I will always mourn you, because a part of me died too.
The description, varnished ivory.
Yeah.
I could see that, and I could. What was the other line? Varnished ivory and.
Oh, your skin varying between varnished ivory and translucent silk.
That line got me too. Yeah, that was brilliant. That was amazing.
Yeah, it gave me chills as well, Edward. Like I could. That was a very raw description of what you were feeling, and just like a very, very raw imagery.
Yes, it was hard because what I wanted to do was I wanted to prepare myself. So I had us a funeral home to view his body a few days before the actual funeral, just so I could prepare like what I was going to see. And I do have a separate poem that I'm writing about that. But it doesn't matter how much makeup they put on you. It just the person does not look the same. And I remember on the day of the funeral, they tried like their hardest to put like, good makeup on him, but it's like that rosy hue that he had that was gone. And it's just the person doesn't look exactly the same. But I had organized rose petals because I wanted when someone would come to view to view him, to place a few rose petals in the casket. So I had kind of anytime someone would come and visit, they would place rose petals. So towards the end, I just put like a bunch around his face because I wanted to bring that rosy hue that he had to his face around him. And it was like such a raw moment, but it's ingrained. It's like you can't forget that sight. And that's how I felt that day, because I remember that day was so sunny and I was so freaking pissed off. It was like such a warm sunny day, and I'm like, how can the sun be so warm, and how can the sun, like, why is it such a beautiful day? It shouldn't be. It should be raining, it should be cold, it should be dismal, because that's how I was feeling inside. But that piece, this was hard to write. This took me a week, and I cried and cried and cried as I was writing it. But anyways, that's that moment captured.
And that line there, that framing his face with rose petals, even Amy put in a comment, that was a very powerful line. The other, again, the last 2 or 3 lines themselves are so powerful. And then that the day he died, a part of me died with you, and that is so relevant, isn't it? Every person from the time I was 7, the first time I had to bury a friend, and from then on, there's been many, and with everyone, a part of you does die. A part of all those memories you had with them, that dies. Those memories can never be because they're gone.
So that was. This one is going to be in the book for sure. So when I do when I do put together a book, I will pull this one off my page. But I think the writing for him will be memories. It'll be the aftermath of kind of what happened. How I felt afterwards. During that grieving process, because the grief process in general. When you lose anybody, it's you feel the shock. And there's a lot of the tears. There's a lot of anger, like, why did this happen to me? It's like you almost feel like death happens to other people, right? It doesn't happen to you. It happens to someone else. It's someone else's problem. And when it hits home to you, you realize, and the most one poem that I am working on as well is who's there and who isn't. And you see who the real people in your life are, the real friends, and you see the people that really care about you, and you see the people that really couldn't be bothered. They're there for show. And that is even
That
more
hurts.
heartbreaking, because I lost so many friends that I thought were really going to be there for like the long haul, and they just couldn't be bothered. They're like, let's just wait till she gets better and then we'll check on her. And I'm like, man, like, this is like the worst freaking day of my life. Like, can you just show up for one day?
Mm.
But it's a lot of like emotion. So it's not like you lose that person, but you lose others in the process too, because it's too much for some people to be
Yeah.
there. And then the people you least expect to be there are the ones that show up. You
Yeah.
know, the
But
ones
that
that call
thing,
you and text you and see if you're eating or drinking water, and you're like you're saving me in the worst time of my life. So it's heartbreaking, but it's almost refreshing, because it's like God removes the people that no longer serve a
Yes.
purpose in your life. And
Yes.
I am forever grateful for that, because my circle is smaller, but it's stronger.
and that
Yep.
thing, he removed the perception that we
Yes.
had of those people. The
Yep.
perception that they cared. We care for them, but it was not mutual. And
Mm.
No.
so yes, it hurts, like that clarity, that truth really, really hurts. It hits you really hard, because like you already feel like you're down. And
Yeah.
then
Mm.
you feel like not just a rug, but the ground, a portion of the ground is pulled up from under you. You're not all the way in a hole,
Yeah.
but like you're deeper than you were before.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I'm
It's
glad
crazy.
that you sustain that and you're able to put it into words, because there's so many people that need to hear those words to understand that they feel like they're alone, but they're not alone.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you never get complacent with that, with loss, like as recent as just 2.5 years ago, a friend of mine who after 35 years that I've known, 30 to 35 years I'd known him, and we went through wild times, and I was 5 days away from meeting up with him when he decided to take his life.
I'm
I
so
still
sorry.
question, was I 5 days too far behind? You know,
That's
but,
awful. I'm so sorry to hear that.
yeah, never gets easy. That's something, most things in life you become immune to and you grow through and you be toughen up against, but loss is never easy.
It isn't. So you know what? I'm gonna read something happier. Let's do that. Let's change let's read something happy.
Yes, we
I
can.
have I have let's see. I might have archived this one, but let me pull it off out of the archive thing if I can, because I like this one. This is one of my favorite poems I think I've ever written.
Oh, I love hearing that.
Okay, so this one is called maybe I should put it back on my page. I do that. I kind of sometimes will archive and then I'll put them back. This one's called Sanctuary. It will always be you, my sanctuary of sanity, a lush tropical paradise among barren fields. You brought to life the stagnant pulse of my dainty wrist, absent of decoration. To others, my charcoal eyes emit a sense of vacancy. It's when my eyes meet yours, they sparkle, a myriad of stars, a sacred smile expressed to you for safekeeping. I play with my thin gold chain around my neck, nerves wrecking my courage, and I hold my breath. I drift, dancing in a daydream, slipping backwards through time, reliving moments with you, wondering if I linger in absence or dissipate like scented perfume. If you were to ask me when I think of you, I would answer only when I breathe.
Dissipating like lingering perfume.
Yeah, dissipate like scented
Like
perfume.
the
So it's one of those pieces where, and I don't write a lot of like romantic type of pieces, but this one just came together very, very quickly, and um, I love this one a lot. I'm definitely going to put this one in my collection that I'm working on. But my favorite part of the poem is the last line, because you know if that person were to ask, like, when do I think of you? It's only when I breathe, which means all the time. Like all the time, this person is like in your mind.
Mm.
So
Interesting comment there by Love for Books and Coffee. My father was extremely intellectual and was conditioned not to show emotion. When I finally witnessed him get teary-eyed and passionate about a topic, forever changed my perception of him. And that's so true.
that is
Um,
true.
Yep. There's parts of Australia even today where, out in the deep north and the red centre, men are not supposed to show their emotions. This
Mm-hmm.
country was built on hard times and hard people. And
Yeah.
my friend I mentioned who took his life, he grew up in that part.
Mm-hmm.
Man should never show his pain, and that's very relatable. I'm glad that's
Yes.
changing slowly but steadily. I'm so glad that's changing. That really, male or female, you're still human. You still bleed. You still hurt, right?
Yes.
And yeah, yeah. So
So
And
I'm gonna jump in. The poem that you wrote, because I see a chain around your neck. Was that a vulnerable
yes,
piece?
yes. This is the chain. So this chain, I got to tell you, this chain, my mother gave it to me. Um, my father actually gave it to my mother 49 years ago, and she recently gave it to me to wear. So this chain is very, very special to me because it's from him to her, and then she recently gave it to me. So this is the thin chain that's in the poem.
there you go.
Because I could almost like because when we're contemplating something, we
Yes,
subconsciously do
we
things.
like kind of
And
like
like I could
play with
almost
the.
see you playing with it and like the gold against your skin. I
Mhm.
could almost see like you playing with, but only seeing like from the side of your face to like your collarbone. And that's the image I got with like you contemplating, maybe like the wind blowing and your hair blowing, but not seeing your face because your mind is so distant in memory, and a small smile coming across your face while you just play with the chain. That's what I saw when you were reading.
Oh wow, I love
Uh,
that visual. Thank you.
uh,
You're welcome.
Nav, your work certainly attracts a lot of fans. Even Arsenio down there, and he's a brilliant poet, as you
Yes,
know. He
thank you.
said, Nav, it's me, deep, I'm a fan. And you've had, and so a lot of the comments that have been coming through here today are just amazing, amazing comments, and really shows what a beautiful, warm soul you are, and what
Thank
it
you.
does, what comes out in your poetry or in your words. I think you do really well to start engaging in live performances in your localities as well and sharing what you have. You have a lot to offer. And so this show, besides me posting it on Instagram, and when I post it, I'll add you and Gemini as collaborators so you can share it on your own pages. On top of that, what I do is I also create a YouTube post under something more than gibberish. And I also create a podcast on Spotify, all your normal podcast channels, your Spotify, your Google, etc., etc. And I'll send you those links as well. So you don't know who sees this, and I hope people do take the time to watch the replay. Friday evening at 6 o'clock is not always not so it's not always convenient, but I do hope people do watch this somewhere along the line, and you never know who does, because I think hearing your work and meeting and getting to know the nav behind the words, behind the poetry, I think it's a great gift, and I think they'll be doing themselves a disservice by not just taking the time to listen to this conversation and then exploring your book and any future books you come up with as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. But yeah, my dear friends are in here
Barbara,
supporting. Yeah,
yeah.
they're so sweet. Thank you so much for you all for joining and supporting. All my dear friends are in here, so it's just so heartwarming. The comments have frozen, but it kind of stopped for me. But I did see them earlier.
Well, you had Barbara just
Mhm.
join, and Barbara is saying Nav is a beautiful person. Valerie's just joined, and Amy and Jenny have been here.
Oh,
Deep's
Amy's
coming in
been
and out. So yeah, you've had
great.
some. You've got some fans. You've got some really a lot of people who really appreciate and admire your work, and it's just such a kind soul. It's, what's not to love about you? You know,
Oh, thank
what's not to
you so
appreciate about
much.
you?
Well, Love for Books and Coffee says it was nice to meet you, Nav. So it's LUV, the number for Books and Coffee. So I'm sure they will follow you if they're not already following you. That way, they can see more of your work.
Oh,
So,
that'd be
folks, if
wonderful.
you're not following Nav Violet, please, by all means, go up to that little arrow on the left-hand side of your screen
Mm-hmm.
and follow Nav. You're not going to regret it at all.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, my love.
Well, we've still got about 40 minutes, Nav. We can showcase anything else you've got happening. We've still got plenty of time. We've been going
Yeah.
really well.
Okay. So we had some requests from the book.
Mm-hmm.
You said Dark Room, and there was another one. I can't remember
Amy
which one it
had
was.
one. Was it Majestic or
Masterpiece. Oh, okay, that
Masterpiece
one.
and Dark Room? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what Amy's requests were. Amy's such a beautiful soul too. I actually
Oh,
managed to
yes.
get her up on screen one time
You
on her. I
did.
thought
I have two. I have two. She doesn't come on live
I'm
as
gonna
much,
get her
but
up again.
okay,
Amy,
good.
it's due time you came back on screen again, Amy.
No pressure whatsoever, Amy. No pressure.
You have to do it, Amy. You have to. So this one's called Masterpiece. It's on page 96. Placid Lisa watched seas of people hover over the red velvet rope, leaning in to snap a photo of her. She heard whispers, theories of her slight smile. Is that a smirk, or is she simply amused? A masterpiece, one said. Another, what a beauty she must have been, sitting in front of a man who told her to sit still. But her back ached from sitting so long in a statuesque stance. She imagined how he saw her as he mixed oils on the board, layer by layer. She shifted her weight in the wooden chair, adjusting her hands, now sweaty. The air rancid from the pungent scent of walnut oil he used to mix his paints burned her nostrils. So she breathed through her mouth until he told her he was painting her lips and she needed to close them. The irony of it all, little do her admirers know, she was just tired of sitting.
Oh, oh my gosh. Mona Lisa.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness. I did not know oak oil was what they used back then.
Yes. It was walnut oil they used to
Yeah.
mix the oils.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you research that portion of it, or was it something that you already knew?
I researched that because I wasn't sure exactly which oil it was and I didn't want to mess it up. But I have seen her painting a few times at the Louvre in Paris, and every time I see it, it's like one of those things is real quick and it's not even that big, but it is a sight to see in person because that expression in her eyes is just, it's really, I was just wondering kind of like, what is she thinking when she's sitting there? And I thought, she's probably just tired of sitting for that many hours. She's probably like, hurry the hell up, Leo. Finish the damn painting.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Like when you said Placid Lisa, I'm like, Placid Lisa. And the more you shared, the more it just built on her persona. It's beautiful the way that you're able to do that, to add, just like paint, you just add layers and layers and layers into a poem. But before you get to the end of the poem, that either the light bulb comes on or you get like an explosion, like, oh, this is what she's talking about. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It's not that everything makes sense, but to get like just like the queen, and to know it was Snow White and the queen, and to know that it was Mona Lisa, just like just seeing that just built up, and you just your mind is just like, oh, you get that inkling, that tingle, and then it's like, yes, that's who it is. I know it. I know who it is. I'm waiting to the end of the poem because I want to hear the rest of the poem. I'm like, I know who it is.
Oh, love that.
It
Thank
actually
you.
makes your pieces timeless, you know, like as you said, you wrote about the prompt based on the Snow White and now the Mona Lisa and all that. But still, the way you've written them, um, they're so relatable.
Thank
They're
you.
relatable to people we know and all the way back in history as well, and probably will be relatable to the future generations. Your work is really timeless.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
It is.
Um, yeah, it was funny. That one, um, that came together pretty quickly. But I was just thinking about what was going on in her mind, if anything.
Yeah,
But that was just the one thing. I was just like, she's probably sitting there like shifting her weight in the she's probably sitting on a stool and got all like this big dress on. It's probably like really musky and hot in that room, and she's probably like just trying to breathe. It's probably like she's like, this place smells like paint.
and back then they didn't have good air
No,
conditioned rooms like we have now, right? Dusty
no,
old cellars.
poor
Uh,
poor thing.
And then you can't
Um,
even see what he's doing. You're sitting there for hours and you have to wait till he's absolutely, because you know, like my daughter's an artist, so they will not let you see their work if it's not finished. So imagine her
oh, I
sitting
see.
there and you're just like, let me just smile and get it over with. You painting my lips, that's the last thing.
Yeah.
mm,
That's why she just
yeah.
like she was like dark room is another one. Let me find it. And I should know where the poems are. It's funny, I
I
don't even
don't
like
either.
um in the book too much. Let's see.
Did
Dark
you
room.
put in a table of contents with your
I
poems?
I did because I knew I wasn't going to be able to figure it out otherwise. Um, 59. Okay, so this one's called Dark Room. I developed these memories in a dark room, the red light jarring at first, though I've become accustomed to its opaqueness. I watch as clouded shadows on glossy paper slowly turn into a grainy two-dimensional you, peering back at me. In this one, you appear pensive, the smile not reaching your eyes. I sense a vacancy there of losing so much that disappointment is no longer a surprise. Photo after photo is hung on the line to dry, bringing back to life our day, now immortalized. The fixer drips from the edges, leaving small puddles on the floor. In this dark room, I can hide you away and keep you safe. I am comforted you'll never be seen.
Hmm. That one is kind of like, it's almost ominous.
Yes.
What was the inspiration for that poem? Like
Uh,
literally, it gave me chills. I have chills like after just thinking about it, thinking about the liquid dripping and the small puddles on the floor. It reminds me of 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams. It reminds
Mm.
me of the scene of him in there with the pictures and with it dripping down.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
So this one, I mean, I did take photography like in high school, and I did, love taking photos. But this one in particular, is not about a particular person, but just having a very short time with someone, and you take a picture of them or capture a moment with them, but it's not something that you really either share, or it's like the moment has passed and you have like this photo of this person, you're like, I don't even know what to do with it, so I'll just keep you safe.
Mm.
And I just pictured me just like hanging up the picture, but it doesn't, like, it never shows up in an album, it's never hung up, it's just an immortalized memory
Mm.
of someone that was special to the person in the poem. So this one wasn't about a particular person, but it was just the theme of like developing a photo
Mm.
and what that could mean to someone.
Mm.
Man. Do you remember the movie 1 Hour Photo?
Yes, I do. That was such a weird movie,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
So that
God,
was his first non-funny movie.
it was really creepy.
It was, but like almost like in photos, you can't imagine the person like back in the day before I'm old. So back in the day, before we had digital cameras and phones and Google One and Google Photos to save our memories, we took the film and we took it to Walmart or
Yep.
Walgreens, but you never think of who's developing your
No.
photos and what they see.
Mhm.
And this is what I think that's why it sent a chill down my back, because like I have so many pictures that I
Yes.
developed, and to see someone seeing your captured memory, but it doesn't really mean anything to them. It means something to you.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that was the era of film, the 35 millimeter film cameras. And it was almost like you didn't know what you were going to take until the photo came back. And then you'd see it and be like, wow, that was a waste of a roll,
Yeah.
or wow, I captured some really great pictures.
Yeah.
Or like
It,
But now,
my brother,
it's
they took
actually coming
pictures of us.
back.
They took pictures of us for our first communion,
mhm.
and here I am. I'm short, and he's tall, and they cut off his head from here up,
Oh
and I have
no,
that picture because I'm in it, but he's really not.
oh no,
The film is actually coming back in a big way.
that's good.
Um, More professional photographers, because I used to shoot with film. I used to do weddings and things like that. And I gave away my 35mm cameras. I had some good cameras and equipment. I gave them away for next to nothing, and now they are worth more than what I paid for them. Now, a lot of professional, young generation professional photographers, they are actually going back and doing courses on film photography, and their shops here, the films, even the slides, the negative or the positive
Yeah,
slides. I've got racks of slides here. I've been converting them to digital, and they're not never the same. You don't have that depth of color. But the same with music. I've got vinyls that I bought when I was like in my teens for $10.
mhm.
Those same vinyls now I go to stores and they're $80,
Yeah,
$90 because they realize that the analog is so much more. I'm an audiophile,
mhm.
and the analog, the sound is so much better from a vinyl. Um, I compare vinyls, not even master pressings, just basic copies with a digitally mastered one, and there's no comparison.
I've heard that too. That's
Uh,
not. It doesn't sound the same.
yeah, no, it's nothing. It's nothing to compare. I've got about 300 vinyls there that I still treasure, and similar numbers in CDs, and no comparison.
So if you go and get like a record, just say from like Walmart or something, it's not going to be the same, right? It's not going to sound that good.
No, now a record now, yeah, now
Yeah,
they are, except what I used to pay $10 for, now they're like 70, $80.
wow, that's crazy.
And there's before where they had a collection of vinyls like this. Now there's rows and rows of vinyls and smaller CD areas. Vinyls are going so big,
Yeah.
and similarly with film photography, most of the professional photography stores are all stocking some good film and so forth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Polaroids as well. My daughter just got one.
those are
So the little Polaroid
great.
yeah,
They're
cameras,
so
they
yeah.
cute.
even come with a purse as well.
Mm.
Yeah, those are really cool. But no, I miss that. Like you would take pictures, you didn't know what you were taking, and then you would get the film back. And it's like now it's like, you just take a picture with your phone and
Yeah,
it sits in your phone. It
yeah,
doesn't, you don't print it. No one ever really goes and gets them printed, right? You're just
yeah,
like, or I'll make a memory book, and then you make one and then you forget about the whole
yeah,
account. Like it's
yeah,
not the same.
Well, it's not
yeah,
just
It's not the
that,
same.
like, I think like with when things started getting weird
Hmm.
with sharing your pictures and like cute little baby photos, and then you have like pedophiles and all sorts of stuff, creepy people,
Yeah.
stalkers. So now like people were happy that they were able, I can capture my memory and I can keep it safe. I share what I want to share. I don't share what I don't.
Yes.
And I think that was the whole thing because um, people started looking at safety and convenience more than the nostalgia and the delayed gratification. And the delayed gratification was good because like you made time out to go pick up your photos, or you were in store shopping for an hour for things that you did not need in Walmart just so you can wait for your film to be developed.
Yes.
And then you had negatives and you can look through your negative. It was
Yeah.
awesome. But then my daughter was little and things started kind of getting weird.
Mhm.
So people ask questions that about your pictures, that why are you looking through my picture? You weren't supposed to develop them.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm going to get a digital camera and I'm going to keep all my stuff. And that's how it kind of
Yeah.
started with
Yes.
everybody.
That makes sense.
My kids were funny when they were little, so most of the time for convenience you play CDs. And every so often my second stepson particularly would say, "Hey Dad, can we listen to some of those big black CDs for the big vinyls?" He's calling big black CDs. It's like
Oh, I love that.
they never, and you think, wow, that's the whole generation. Now to see them playing vinyls and hunting vinyls,
It's
and
amazing.
it's phenomenal. Yeah, playing those big black CDs. I still think it makes me laugh when these innocent little voices saying, "Dad, can we play some of those big black CDs of yours?" you know.
And kids will never understand with cassette tapes how if the tape
Yes.
got all messed up. You
Oh,
take like the little pencil.
yeah.
They don't even know it. They don't even know the struggle. Or those floppy disks you use to save files on your computer. It was like
Don't
that
get
big.
started. You're dating me. You're dating me. Don't do that. Don't do that. I definitely look. You remember taking your cassette tapes and dubbing over what was already there to record a song on
Yes.
the radio and try to
Yes.
get it before the DJ start talking.
Yeah.
Fun
Oh,
times, fun times.
such fun times.
But
Now,
so tell me, now that you know that there are poetry venues in your area and you already have an idea for another book,
Mhm.
where do you see poetry going? What do you see the purpose of poetry being in your life, like right now?
Wow. You know, I do have to comment one thing that really, really touched me. I received a message from someone who follows me that purchased my book and she read it and she said it healed her.
Oh,
And I remember seeing that message and I remember actually getting very emotional reading it because I never thought in my life that my writing could heal someone and that it was so relatable to her, and that touched me so much. I literally screenshotted and I started. I'm like, if I ever feel down about writing or I feel unsure about it, I'm going to read that message, and that my poetry made a difference to one person.
yeah.
So for me, I took that to heart, and my purpose on earth, you know, God gifted me this gift of writing, and I want to continue to share. If my writing helps, heals, or if someone resonates with it, that is my purpose. That is my divine purpose. And so I will write until the day I die. I don't care if I'm 85 years old and I can no longer hold a pen. I will find a way. That's my new purpose, and that was because of that one person
Oh, wow.
that said that to me. It really changed my perspective because, you know, sometimes we're critical of ourselves. We're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this, I'm not that good. And, you know, you just get it on your head, right? It's one of those things, like, as writers, we're very critical of ourselves. At least I am. Like, I'll
yeah.
write something and I'm like, oh, it's okay, you know, it's good. But that touched me on a deep cellular level. And I can't unsee that. I can't unfeel that.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's my purpose. That's what I've decided.
And that's the beauty of it, and that is why I think as poets, what we do right, you've got to truly believe and truly live
Yeah.
what you, because you don't know who. Because I'd hate to be writing words, but I live a contradiction, and somebody's they're living through their healing journey based on my words, and then they find out I'm a fraud. What a letdown that would be, and that's why I think that authenticity is so crucial. Actually, you're good friends with Amy.
Yes.
Now, about 2 years ago was my dad's 50th anniversary after passing away, and I wrote a tribute to him that I read and I posted on my page. And that's what connected Amy and me, because she could relate to it, because I was the same age when I lost my father as her boys were. And Amy and I have been friends since, and I've got all the time for Amy, and we don't chat or anything like that, but we always follow each other's posts, and then we'll suddenly have a series of chats. How you going? Blah blah blah. When you speak to Amy next, ask her what connected you and Rainier,
I
and that's
will.
exactly
I talk to her.
it.
I talk to her all day.
Yeah, it's it's
She's
exactly a
lovely.
poem that connected us, and basically me writing a memory of a tribute to my father for the 50th anniversary, and yeah, and she related to it through her own losses, and there was a friendship that was born from that.
Yes, she was one of the friends that helped me through my grief.
Hmm.
Also Jenny as well. And so we've been very connected, and
Nice.
they're both very sweet. They always send me gifts in the mail, and they're both just like the most genuine people I've met on here. And Kimberly, who is I call her my sis. She's also been a part of my journey. She's just the sweetest soul. And I met Kimberly through online years ago. There's this website called LiveJournal. I don't know if you guys remember that, where it was like a online journal, and I met her through that, and we exchanged postcards and then letters.
Yeah,
So her and I write each other like handwritten letters. And then when I lived in New York, I got to meet her and hang out with her.
yeah,
And so I do have a really great circle.
yeah,
And
yeah,
my friendships are very, very deep and meaningful.
yeah,
And one thing I have to say about myself is I'm the same person everywhere. I'm the same person on IG. I'm the same person at work. I'm the same person at home. I can't play a character. What you
hmm,
see is what you get, and that's comes through my writing and as in my personality. Because I know some people can do that. They can just
yeah.
switch on and be someone else. I'm like,
No,
I don't have the
no,
time
I'm the
or
same.
the energy.
Yeah,
You like me, you like me.
yeah.
You don't. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that
keep,
takes a lot of energy to do that, to
It's too.
become
People
a
do
person.
it though.
They do.
It's like they switch, and they completely create a whole character, and that's who they are, and they go offline. There's someone. I'm like, how? It's too exhausting. It's
Well,
too
that's the thing.
exhausting.
Some people, you know how when you were little, you read to escape.
Yes,
But when you started writing as a writer, you read to express and to be understood.
yes, that's true.
Some people still write to escape. So
Hmm.
instead of kind of transforming into a writer that people may use to escape from or to find themselves, they just continued on the path of wanting to escape themselves and their lives and their situation. And at the beginning, all of us writers do that. We kind of like regurgitate everything, all
Hmm.
emotions, especially the sad ones.
Hmm.
And then afterwards, all those sweet, tender moments like the gold chain around your neck and playing with it and thinking about what Mona Lisa must have felt like sitting there like still for hours and thinking what could have driven the queen. So it's more introspective. You're looking at yourself and you're placing yourself in others' shoes.
Yes.
So that's when you start connecting more with people because people will connect to that escapism for a while,
Hmm.
but that authenticity is lasting. And that's why I cannot wait for you to get in front of a crowd. It doesn't even matter if it's just a small room of people, but to get that one person that you lock eyes with. And I like the fact that when you read, you look up.
Yes.
That one person that you lock eyes with, that's probably part of your corporate kind of thing
Hmm.
where you're presenting and you have to read and you have to look at the room, scan the room to see people have questions in
Yes.
their eyes. But that one person you connect with, the feeling that you got from receiving that note concerning your book, that's going to multiply.
mm,
And then you'll
Wow.
be able to give that same feeling to someone else when they share their poem. And for me, that's the purpose of open mics,
Yes.
to be able to receive and to give. And with Girl House, when they talk about like responding to a poet while they're performing, they call it feeding the poet. So whether you make a sound like or you snap your fingers. Anything that you do authentically is feeding the poet because they know you relate, you understand. Maybe it's like you're sitting there and you let your tears fall. So I can't wait. I'm getting like goosebumps. I'm like,
I have to do it. I have to do it now. I
you
will do it.
you will not regret doing it.
Mhm.
And just remember, whichever spaces you go into, every space is not for you
Mhm.
because every space carries its own vibe. And if you go
Oh, okay.
in and the vibe doesn't feel right, you say, okay, maybe it's nerves. You go back another night and see. And if it is, then you find another spot because they're all over, my love, all over. Once you find
Oh, I need
one,
to.
it's like an avalanche. You find the rest of them, or they find you. People find you.
That's great. I need to do it. I need to do it.
Yes.
So we've been going for an hour and 50 minutes. What's what do you see as your most signature piece to close us out with?
Oh, all right. I'm saving that one for the last.
There you go. Interesting. I was
Okay.
very disappointed actually. I thought Amy was in New York, and I'll be actually in New York next week. But she's
Oh, are
actually
you?
4 hours north of New York in Michigan, so I was hoping to actually meet her in person. But no, she's
She's up north more.
yeah, 4 hours out of New York.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the thing with the states. It's like, I mean, even to drive from the top of Virginia to the bottom, it's like six something hours.
yeah,
All the states are so darn big.
And
It takes
it's not
forever.
the beltways. It's if it was
Yeah.
just one continuous highway or
Yeah.
interstate going down, the beltways are crazy and annoying.
Yes.
So every beltway around the city is just like it takes up so much time.
It
I know what you mean.
does.
Some of our states here takes 2 days of driving to get there at
Oh, I
110
bet.
kilometers an hour. 2 days across to get from one end to the
Wow.
yeah.
Well, I will read. This is the very last poem in my book. It's called I Win. You can't win at the game I invented, playing a hand with tricks up your sleeves. I'm watching you fail miserably, losing more chips each round, but I'm intrigued by your persistence. Let me offer you a consolation prize, a glimmer of hope for your ambitions, enough to keep you fiending, latching onto his words, extracting new meanings to suit your unanchored reality, of initials carved in a weathered tree trunk, proving your devotion to one another. You dream of him touching the small of your back as you blend your heart and pour it into tall glasses, hoping he drinks to you. Darling, he's having a drink with me. Take notes, girl. Learn a trick or two. Never show all your cards at once. Tease a small smile to keep him guessing. Hide them close to your chest. The precious thrill of the chase, adored by me throughout, and you're lagging behind. Relish this defeat. You're not the lucky one. Surrender your fantasy into my capable hands. You will always be a weeping myrtle peering into his garden of thriving violets he so carefully waters.
Damn.
Thank you.
I saw the sword and the javelin and the spear come out in that one.
Thank you.
Violets have never been so violent. That was superb. I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank
Yes.
you so
It's
much.
like telling them off without cussing, without
Yes.
nothing. It's like you're nothing. I don't need to resort to any of those things.
Yeah, you just kind of watch just someone try to fail. And it
Pour
could be
yourself in.
it could be in many different perspectives. It could be, two people in a relationship and someone coming in between. It could be various different perspectives, but my favorite part of that particular poem is where it transitions. When it says, you dream of him touching the small of your back as you blend your heart and pour it into tall glasses, hoping he drinks to you. Darling, he's having a drink with me. That shift in
Mm,
that piece.
mm, mm,
The
mm.
darling part.
Oh, I feel sorry for your exes, Nav. Jeez. After that one, Jesus, I'd be running for the hills and hiding, changing my name.
I feel sorry for the ex's rebound. That's what I feel sorry for. He's still drinking to your memory while she's cutting herself and pouring herself into tall glasses. Mm,
Just
mm.
being a weeping myrtle.
I know
Thank
Deep would
you.
love that line because Deep loves flowers. And I could
Yes.
imagine weeping myrtle and violets just okay.
Yeah. So, anything coming up in the near future in the writing journey or just in life? Anything?
Um, no, that's actually it. I'm going to be doing my open mic on Origin of Thought the first Monday of April, and continuing that. I love doing that. I love meeting, interacting with poets and having them share their work. And some of the people I meet is like the first time they've ever come on an open mic, and they're so nervous. And it's just nice to hear a variety of work. So I'm going to continue to do those. Maybe do more lives from my own page. Maybe get more active on that. And then continually posting and writing. I don't post a lot on my page. I do maybe 2 poems a month. I know a lot of people do like many posts a day, but it does take me a long time to craft a piece. I do like to take my time with them. So I don't churn out many poems. So I do maybe a poem a week is kind of the frequency of my writing. So we'll be doing that and then continually working on my book and submitting my work to magazines. I've been doing that,
Mhm.
continuing doing that, and then anthologies, and just trying to get my work um, out there.
Mm.
So I have started doing that. So I have my pieces published in a couple of magazines. So that's been a great experience as well.
Mm. I haven't been posting a lot myself either. I've just been busy with everything else. I used to try and do one a week or something like that. Geez, I think it's been 2, 3 months since I've posted anything other than the lives on my page. Just
Yes.
haven't had time. Pretty much my Saturdays are taken up a couple of hours with this, and
Yes.
then 4 hours with the original thought at 10 p.m. Although I'm not going to be doing that for the next 4 weeks because I'll be traveling and so forth. So Valerie's got a few people filling in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, literally wipes out a day. So, Nav, I cannot thank you enough, and I'm so glad that we were able to get you finally on screen. And as I said at the start, this is not the last. As things happen, please do reach out, and
I
happy
will.
to have you on. It's been an absolute pleasure having a laugh, having a chat, getting to know more about Nav, the background. I've still got this little grade 1 kid sort of daydreaming, writing
Yes.
stories
Well,
about
it was
pandas and rabbits. I can just see
well,
you there.
it was funny because like when she said it, it almost felt like, is it bad to daydream? Is it bad to have my head in the clouds? And I always thought it was like a bad thing. But it's like, when you're a creative person, you can't stop doing that. You can't shut that off. And so it was it was a funny experience. It was something I remembered. And I actually visited that teacher years later.
Yeah,
I had to.
yeah,
I had to air my grievances.
yeah.
That's beautiful. When you said it, I smiled because I got in trouble for that as well. And I used to write short stories, and while she's teaching, I used to write short stories. So I definitely relate to that. So that is a creative mind. I'm glad that everything that was said to you did not douse that.
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
as I say each week or each show, to those in the audience, without you, the quality of the show wouldn't be there. Love for books and coffee, your comments, your support has been brilliant, has been amazing, and enriched the show so much. We had Chance before come and go. We had Jenny and Amy there supporting the show, and Tom DeSaro, a poet that I from Charlotte in Florida, Port Charlotte, a poet that I respect a great deal. He's been here the whole show
Oh,
supporting.
very
Barbara's
nice.
popped in and out. Valerie's popped in and out. Deep's popped in and out. Really shows how much you're respected. And thank you to everybody who stayed through the journey of the show, came and went, your comments, your support for Nav, because it really does help the featured guests to really let more of themselves out by your comments. You elicit that. It's hard to just get up on screen and talk about yourself unless there's a reception, right? And you, as in the audience in the room, you really help that a lot. So thank you for your time. A couple of hours of your life to,
Thank
and for
you
those
so
who
much.
and for those who even watch the show after or the recordings as well, and get to know this lovely poetess here that we've had the pleasure of featuring today. So yeah,
Thank
and
you so much. I am so grateful for both of you. It was so nice to meet you, Gemini, and
Right.
thank you, Rainier. It was such a lovely conversation, and it had such a great time. And 2 hours flew by. I mean, I could. It was just
I
wonderful. Thank
know
you.
I could go, longer, keep going here. It just like as you said, 2 hours just disappears.
Right.
And this lovely co-host of mine, she always elicits some good conversations. Has a laugh, brings out the laugh. Today, I'm glad she got her. Every show she's got to attack me, and I'm glad she got that out of the way at the start of the show. So now she's been really docile and calm and appeasing with me the rest of the show. That was a good thing. But Gemini, thank you very much for, as always, my friend. You really enrich the show through your conversations, your humor, and just you being you. And I love working with you on the show. It really is. I think this when we started this 27 episodes ago. Um,
Did not
well, we've grown
know
since then.
it would drag on for so long. But we must do what we must do. And I think if it drags on any longer, I will be able to survive. I'm a strong woman. And yeah, you have to be strong working with an Australian. They don't really speak like real English. They speak Australian English. It's night and day, like literally. Literally. Anyway, Nav,
See, I spoke too soon about her getting her aggression out at the start of the show, but clearly there was
there
still
was
that.
definitely no, that was only truth, no aggression whatsoever. Nothing, no aggression. Nav, thank you so
Well,
much for sharing
thank
your
you
night.
so much. I appreciate you. I will look into events locally, and I will connect with you and let you know how they go because you've really encouraged me to
Please.
do that. Thank you.
I would love, I would love to go ahead and to get insight. And if you feel nervous, message me.
I will. I will. It's so nice to talk to you now. Now I'm gonna message you.
Yes. And I'll share my number. So message me and we'll go ahead and we'll chat and I'll share my
Oh,
number.
that'll be great. Thank you both so much. I appreciate both of
Well,
you.
and before I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this man dragging me up here and like every other week reminding me mercilessly that I have to share a screen with him. Like I love the guests, but I have to share. Look at he's trying to look innocent, trying so hard, but it's not working. Rainier, thank you so much for your consistency and for all of the hard work that you do in the background and for surviving a Caribbean person. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. Well, you know what? Shut up.
It's a pleasure to do all the work, but yeah, surviving with a Caribbean woman, that's been a challenge. That's made me drawn out every ounce of strength and persistence and tolerance in me. I tell you what, that's for sure.
I,
But love working
glad
with
that
you, Jim.
I'm glad that I could make you stronger. That's what we do.
Mm,
Thank you.
clearly.
And you're welcome.
Look at that innocent smile. Nav, thank you. Heartfelt thanks, Nav. To say it was a pleasure is an understatement. Absolutely love
Thank
the
you so much.
conversations and love being with you and having you on. Do stay in touch and I'll add you as a collaborator so then you can post on your own
Absolutely.
page.
Okay.
And I'll send you over the next week or so, I'll send you the links to the YouTube and the podcast when I've posted them as well.
Thank you so much, Rainier. Thank you, Gemini. You guys have a great night.
You too, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, folks. God bless. Stay safe.